Good evening, everyone. I hope you'll feel that you've left out a bit in that, let's see, I did 1, 2, 3, 4, approximately 5 hours of solid talking today. So I am sick of my voice. Which means, I'm not going to talk too long with you, and I know we're all standing too, and it's a lovely, balmy evening, right? So let me erase all the things I just did the last 5 hours and go back to what I was thinking about sharing with you early this morning as I was getting quiet. Welcome. When George died, which was 10 years ago this December, I fell into a hole and I was angry. I was really angry. I promise you this is going to go up too. But I wanted to share this with you, so I'm going to start here. And I won't take long, I promise. I was really angry. I was angry at everybody and everything. I was angry because I saw other people going on with their lives like it's all fine. I was angry because people would tell me when I said, but I'm alone. You are not alone. Yes, I am alone. I was angry about everything. I felt I'd been robbed from him, the world had been robbed from him. I was just so mad. And I didn't know how to come out of it. And I just kind of wallowed in it. And you know why? I wallowed in it because I didn't want to get out. Because I had no purpose. That's how I felt. I have no purpose. So time just went on. I hid away. And I just wallowed. This was my life now. And then something happened. Out of nowhere, something happened. And that was that I realized, really almost in an instant, that I have something to offer. That I have a reason to live. And that George, who I always felt was my whole world, still could be. And that world can just expand. And that love, and I hope you already know this, love is not like this. Love is like this, right? So how do I do that? I've made this revelation, and now how do I pull myself out? Well, I decided the way I would do that is with the school and with visiting and sharing Rodrigue art. Because George and I, if you did not know this, I'm telling you right now, George loved the arts and education. He loved engaging with students, and he loved doing it one-on-one. Visiting with kids. It was a passion for him. The last school we visited was just 2 months before he died, and it was in Simi Valley, California. The whole school, they did whole school art projects there where they did all these great artists as though they were Rodrigue. So in other words, you had the Mondrian blue dog, you had the Van Gogh blue dog, the Chagall blue dog, and they did them on these giant, big panels. They lined the walk with them. They had them all over the school. Y'all, it was fantastic. And when we left, because I interviewed George all the time, I wrote everything down. I wrote it all down. He said, Wendy, usually we visit schools to teach. This time the kids taught us. And he said, it's the art that is the bridge. It is more important to be studied by a child or to study with a child than to hang on the walls of the greatest museums. He felt that strongly about it. So I'm in my hole, and I have made a decision that I actually have a purpose. Because all these amazing experiences that I had with George and all these wonderful things he told me about my art are well, I have to get them out. They're all just in my head, not in both our heads anymore. And I oftentimes tell kids, so I'm here to put some of it in yours. I'm here to put some of it in yours. So how do I start? Well, I was able to arrange to go visit a school outside of Lafayette. Maybe some of you know it. It's called J. Wallace James. And I decided, okay, this is what I want. I just want to visit a pre-K class. Because who can be sad around pre-K, right? They're like, and if they're down, they're back up in about, half a second. So I thought I can do this. Y'all, I was so nervous to visit with pre-K, and I had made up my mind I was going to bring one of the children's books that George and I had read together. That George and I wrote together, and I was very excited about that. And I thought, okay, that's what I can do, because then I don't have to remember anything. I can just sit down and read the book, right? So I go in, and they had this big white rocking chair, and all the kids down there on the floor. And I thought, I sat down on the rocker for just a second, and I thought, this is never gonna work. And so I got up, and I pushed the rocker aside, and I got down on the floor with those kids, because I wanted to be eye level with them. And I opened that book, and I read, hello, my name is George, and I am an artist. And I fell apart. And this little boy on the front row, he jumped up and he ran forward and he buried his head in my lap. And then all the kids came and the bear hugs came and they just smothered me with them. And I said, will you help me read it? And they said, yes, Miss Wendy. And I was on my way. And now it is 137 schools, over 600 classes, over 60,000 kids. We are in 8 states. We'll hit our next 2 this year, and we are doing museum shows.
Wow.
I oftentimes tell kids, you haven't learned it already. Think about it. Life is like this, and life is like this. Life is like a river, a meandering river, a mountainous range. It is like this. And we all want to just cruise along up here all the time. That's not life. And sometimes when you're down here is when that very thing will happen that will spring you higher than you ever were. It happened to George Rodrigue multiple times, and it is how he discovered art, which was while he was bedridden with polio as a young child. That's how he discovered art. I had fun today telling the docents about one of my favorite things that George used to do, because when I would tell that story to kids, and there's a long story with it that I'm not going to go into all right now, but I hope that you'll join me for some of these children's, especially tours, because it's a lot of fun to share it. But one of them was that when I would tell George a story, because he would always paint while I would visit with the kids, he used to always put his paintbrush down, and I would talk about him lying there in bed with polio and how he discovered art and how his mom had brought him, among other things, modeling clay. And he would always say, Wendy, let me tell this part. And he would put his hands like this and he would say, and I took that modeling clay and I formed it into little animals. And I put those animals on my nightstand and I told stories with them. Sick with polio, contagious, can't go to school, has no brothers and sisters, and he is as happy as he can be. And he's just going like this, and he has discovered art, and he has discovered the gift that made his life worth living and gave his life purpose, and what a gift he has given to the world. And forever. Thank you. So this exhibition, The River is the Road, came about for a couple of reasons, but one of them is that my curator of exhibitions here, Dana Holland Vikert, because I did nothing by myself. She and I together did this. And there are others too, which I'm not going to miss. I normally don't bring those, but I was terrified I might miss somebody that I really wanted to say something acknowledged. So anyway, she and I decided some time ago, we've been doing exhibitions together since 2006 is when we first started. Our first exhibition together was at a museum in Memphis. And Dana is from Memphis and has been curating for many years with various museums. And so she knows Rodrigue very well. She knew George himself, and we have worked together very well over the years. But one of the things that's happened with George is that museum after museum comes to us and says, I want a retrospective. Okay, well, yeah, a retrospective is really great with Rodrigue because his work changes dramatically, right, as you go along, and it's very interesting. Okay, how did he get from the dark, very Renaissance-like, rich oak trees to the very bright and vibrant and surreal blue dogs? How did he get to that? Well, that's a retrospective, so let's follow it. So we did a number of those. The biggest one was at the New Orleans Museum of Art. Maybe some of you saw it in 2008, over 200 pieces. Whoa, was that a retrospective? It was something. But after George died, we talked about it quite a bit, and it was, okay, we could keep doing that. That's what everybody wants. Or we can do better. And how do we do better? Let's sit down and really look at these paintings and into not just George's head, but his feelings. Because that's what George would say. He would say, I am not painting South Louisiana. I'm not painting a specific place. I'm painting the feeling of South Louisiana. Specifically, his feeling. His feeling. And feelings. He has put his most personal expression out there for all of us to see. And indeed, isn't that art? Of any kind. That is all of our art. I hope you all have found yours. It's a beautiful thing to have and to share. And so, in looking at the paintings, we started pulling out elements that were common amongst George's paintings. Because many people, especially in South Louisiana, think that George started painting the Blue Dog, for example, and then he quit painting in a certain way with the Cajun works. Not true. For example, in the docent training today, one of the suggestions I made to the docents is, why don't you explore also a contrast between a painting of 1969 and a painting of, 2009. 2009. Yeah. 1969. I would love to go into all of the incredible details of those differences and similarities with all of you, but in the interest of time, I can't. But I hope you'll join me, before I forget, on Saturday and on Sunday. I'm going to do complete exhibition walkthroughs and really go into depth on these works at 2 o'clock, both days. And in fact, on Sunday, because it's Father's Day, I'm also going to do a special tribute to George's dad and about what a wonderful influence he was on the young artist. He is pretty great. So anyway, we pulled out those elements. Dana and I did wonderful exhibitions, I have to say. They were great. One of our favorites was called Swirling Vision. In this room alone, how many spirals do you see? And George's swirling vision coming through. It goes all around. And the spiral is perhaps the oldest symbol in art. George really embraced it, and it changed in meaning for him many times. Women. Oh, was that a great show? Women. That was my favorite. I think Dana might have found it hers too. It was so great. We even had a Rodrigue painting there of a nude woman playing a harp. So we got a woman to play a harp fully clothed. It has been so fun. We've done many of these shows, and this is the first time we've been able to do that type of a show in a museum. And it is because the folks here at the West Baton Rouge Museum took a chance on us. And we said, we are passionate about this, we can do this, please give us a shot. And they did, and that is why we have this show. This is a fabulous museum. George Rodrigue would have loved this museum. It's real, it's grounded, it's for the people. It is unintimidating. Fine art can be intimidating. It can be really scary. One of the things I try to tell kids when I go in and try to impart to them is that, yes, I can share with you all about George Rodrigue's intent as he shared it with me in these works. And in fact, I encourage you, please, these extended labels that we have all over the place in these texts, we spent a lot of time on those, and many of those comments are from my notes that I actually took with George. That's all fine and dandy, but guess what else? Fine art stands on its own, and in fact, I've thought of this many times because Douglas here, my wonderful husband, he was also a very good friend of George's. And for many years before I even knew him. And when I have gone into a panic, which happened quite a bit, especially in those early years, about, oh my gosh, what if I mess up? What if I put it out there wrong? What if I do something that hurts his reputation? He told me something that I go back to again and again. Wendy, that's impossible because the art holds up. The art holds up. Yeah. So here we are again with a non-retrospective retrospective of The River is the Road. And I would love to go into all kinds of details with you about these pieces, but I will do that on the tour. I will only say the highlight is Indians, Cajuns, and Cowboys back here. That has been in mine and George's home all the way from the beginning, for the last 33 years now. And so that painting, check it out. And the oak tree spreading like eagle's wings over the American West. There's some great information on the label there, but even more than that, take a long look. especially that young Cajun boy, separated from the other clusters of people because he is the hope of the Cajuns to expand beyond the swamps and beyond where they were lost, as George portrayed them in his earlier works. So it's been a wonderful exhibition experience getting this together. I will tell you also that we put it together intending this to be a single exhibition, and instead, as people heard about it, it is now going to be on the road for 2.5 years.
Oh, wow.
And it all began right here with the West Baton Rouge Museum. So after this, it goes to Alabama at the Carnegie Visual Arts Center in northern Alabama. From there, it goes to the Masser Museum in Monroe. From there, it goes to the museum in Nashville, Tennessee. And from there, it comes right back around to Alexandria, the Alexandria Museum of Art. So, whoa, that's so exciting!
Great.
Okay, so I'm going to end now because otherwise I just keep going, as you can tell, with my thank yous because that's the most important place. I already said this, but it bears thanking again. Thank you to the West Baton Rouge Museum of Art. You've been a pleasure to work with. You are creative individuals. You make me more creative because of what you do and because of the chances you've taken on us with the show. Thank you. Thank you. And I mean every one of you with this museum. I can't see all the wonderful faces I've worked with here, but I just want to say every single person we have worked with this museum has been incredible. And we have great education stuff coming, and yes, I can't wait to do that. That's my favorite. Next, I know it was already said by Angelique, but I just want to repeat this too. The Tellish family, whoa. They have made this exhibition in a large part possible. They're very generous sponsorship. They have become friends. They are Rodrigue collectors, and they are real blessings to your community. And if you haven't met them, and they're beautiful children. Next, I want to thank Morgan Stanley. Morgan Stanley is represented here today by the lovely Marguerite Knight. And is anybody here from the Louisiana Lottery? No, they've been very active and very friendly online. So that's why I hope I get to meet them somewhere along the way. But your Louisiana Lottery also helps support the show. So fantastic. Then I want to acknowledge the 4 folks who lent from outside of our Rodrigue organization. One would be Mr. Douglas Shield, who is not here now, but he'll be here on Sunday. Very long time, precious friend of mine and George's, who went all the way back to 1990. And he loaned this fabulous Prayer Before the Hunt. Incredible painting here. Which you can imagine, you think about this, it's no small thing when you loan your paintings. When your painting is like the focal point of your home and your life, it becomes like a family member. And these folks are now partying with their paintings for 2.5 years. So that's a big thing. Then I also want to thank on our lenders the wonderful Haney family, represented here tonight by Mr. Haney. They loaned this magnificent piece right here, very early, wonderful Rodrigue from 1969, and because of the date and the style, I know that means that it was in George's very first ever museum show, which was at the Pink Palace there on the USL or UL Lafayette campus, the AA's Town building, and that's where that show would have been. This fabulous piece. And by the way, this would be an original frame, and a lot of the early pieces that you see here are original frames because in those days, George did not have the money. For example, this piece back here also would be the original frame, and the piece over there, the flooding at Whiskey Bay. These are all original frames because, not all of them in here, but the early paintings. Because in those days, George didn't have the money to buy the frames, and so what he would do is go to junk shops. He would buy other people's paintings, discard the paintings, and keep the frame, and then he would stretch his canvas to fit their frame, and then he would literally paint to the frame. And that is why it's so well, beautiful, nuanced, yes, really incredible. So it's the opposite, right? Usually we have a painting, we go get it framed. George had a frame, he went to paint. So also, let's see, the Hilliard Museum. And I know we had some representatives from the Hilliard here, and I'm not sure if they're still here, but the Hilliard Museum has always been generous also with loaning works. and they loaned this fabulous piece on Whiskey Bay, right at high water at Whiskey Bay, just over here, which is 1973, I believe. And fabulous piece with the very ghostly Rodrigue figures. They have a wonderful collection there of paintings in their permanent collection. And then finally, the Alexandria Museum of Art. Back in the Brick Gallery, I hope that you all noticed that wonderful paddle wheel boat, the steamboat. It's all white and glowing, much like a Cajun person, right? Fabulous, and these three oak trees that are patterned right behind it. It's wonderful, and let me tell you, that is a star piece for the Alexandria Museum of Art. It hangs just as you walk in the museum, and has ever since they built the new museum, the new building. So for them to part with this, really nice. Really, really nice. And then just a few more. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge my own staff. I actually have a little staff now. So great! I mean, we really started off very small, and I have a little staff. First of all, she couldn't be here today, but she did a lot of the behind-the-scenes work, and that is Heather Parker, who happens to be my sister. She lives in Tallahassee, Florida. She does all of our print and media work, the websites. She does biggest thing, all the scheduling when I go to schools. Let me tell you. Getting all that organized, it's to where all I have to do is show up. She's amazing. And then who's here is Dana, who you all already met, Dana Hollenbiker. We are just recently reunited as full-time together, and y'all, we are flying. Our next big show, you already know about this traveling one, our next big show is at the Museum of New Art in New England, just outside of Boston. It's in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. It opens in September, goes all the way to December. It is called George Rodrigue Painting for Myself. It's everything George did, not everything, but a lot of what George did without a collector standing by or an agent. Some of the things he did for children's hospitals, fundraising. It's going to be so cool. Come and see. 8,500 square feet. They gave us the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And then finally, I have one more thank you to make. Douglas, please come up here. Put your camera You know, it takes a very strong man to support his wife while she speaks of her love for someone else. My wonderful Douglas, I'm just going to tell you, I promise a very brief story, and then I'm done. So when I first started the Life and Legacy Foundation, it wasn't supposed to be that. I had an idea. George always said it starts with an idea. I had an idea. And my idea was that I wanted the children of Louisiana to know who enhanced the art in their schools. In some cases, who actually brought the art to their schools, the reason they have art in their schools. And so I thought, okay, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? I don't have George, all this kind of stuff. You know, he would do the paintings before. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the director of the Louisiana A+ Schools program, which is, for those of you who don't know, arts integrated school programs. We have 21 of them here in the state of Louisiana. So like, you know, they're dancing in the math class, things like that. All subjects are taught through the visual performing arts. That's what I'll do, because I can go to her and she can organize a statewide tour for me in all those schools, which is what she did. All 21 schools, but I only work in small groups. And I do that because this is storytelling. I don't use PowerPoint, I use actual paintings, and I want it to be intimate, and I want the kids to talk and to engage with the paintings. And so some schools took a week. I mean, took time. There's no auditorium stuff here. So if in the few cases I have been given an auditorium to work with, I make the kids all come up on the stage with me, and we all sit on the stage together. It's got to be intimate. Part of the message here is that nobody is any more special or important than anybody else, and neither is anybody's art. It was Picasso who said, it took me a whole lifetime to learn how to paint like a child again. Yeah. So I'm going to tour Louisiana. That's what we're going to do. And we're going to bring Rodrigue paintings, and we're going to reproduce his last self-portrait, which is on the wall in the corner just back there. It's fabulous. It's the only piece I show in every single show, and I bring to every single school. We're going to reproduce it for every one of these schools, And we reproduced it that size, and underneath we put some words about George. We framed it beautifully. We're gonna unveil them at every school for them to hang in the front so they can know about George as he saw himself artistically. And we'll bring original paintings and we'll do these sessions. So it all gets set up, and I tell Douglas, I'm doing this thing. It's gonna take 6 months. And I said, I understand we weren't married yet when I told him about it. We got married just before we hit the road, actually. And I said, Douglas, I know you've got to work and you've got your life. I understand, but I need you to understand that I have to do this. And he didn't hesitate. He said, I'm coming. He didn't hesitate. So for 6 months, we started at the southern part of the state and we worked our way up. And the last school we did was in Mooringsport, just north of Shreveport, which was news to me that there weren't anything in Louisiana north of Shreveport. But there we went. And it was a really great school. It was really great. We were there, I think, 2 days. And by the way, we drive in George's truck, the same truck George and I drove everywhere. That's what we haul all the art in and what we drive everywhere in. We have a really good Ford guy. Just keeps it going. It's great. It's really great. It's blood for Harry. It's really good.
400,000 miles.
It's about 250,000 now, I think.
Yeah, it's not that much.
Yeah, we're doing pretty good. So anyway, we finished school. We load up the truck in Mooringsport. We get in the truck, and I just burst into tears. And he was all concerned about me. And I said, now what? Now what? And he said, I'm going to tell you what. We keep going. And we get organized about it. And Wendy, we go national. Heck, we go international. Okay. And before you knew it, we had a nonprofit attorney. We applied for our status. We got it, to apparently everybody's shock, because I am not kidding. Every person I told said you'll never get it. We did, and we're off and running even faster than ever. Other than to say, please join me tomorrow and or Sunday for the tours, and I'll be back again a lot in October, and we'll do it all again. And I should have said also, Sandra, I should introduce some of the folks I've worked with over the years. I've worked with Sandra since 1990, and she was one of my dearest friends and family members. We worked together in the Carmel, California gallery. She knew George so well. I love you too. And there are others from the gallery also. Jean is here and Rebecca is here. Folks I've worked with and known. Jean is a close family friend for many years. They knew George, so find out more about him. He was remarkable. Thank you all.